Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wake Up Well. Hopefully you are waking up well, refreshed and happy. And that's the purpose of this show, is to bring some happiness and some lightness into the world. My guest today is the beautiful and talented and lovely, I'm going to bring her in right now because she's smiling and she has such a beautiful smile, Caryn Sullivan. Hi, Caryn.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Welcome. So Caryn Sullivan is a two-time breast cancer survivor, and it wasn't until her wake-up call with stage 4 cancer that she changed her focus from looking good to being well, and she founded Pretty Wellness, a healthy lifestyle company focused on creating content to motivate people to thrive in their life. She's been seen on the Dr. Oz show, the Wendy Williams show, and she has her own segment on WNHTV where she lives, and so she is the perfect conduit to bring through some information on healthy. And we are in, let's show them, Caryn, our kitchens today.
Yay.
So today we're talking about what I call healthy hibernation. There's lots of times where you can't leave your home, where you just have to stay in. And of course, one of those times is when you've had a baby and you've got a new baby. Of course, you know what happened with the coronavirus, and times when you've been diagnosed with different things or you've had a surgery and you have to stay in. And of course, you know this all too well because you were diagnosed with cancer. So tell us a little bit about that before we get into some of these healthy hibernation foods and ways to stay healthy during those times.
So I was diagnosed first with breast cancer 3 months after I was married. So that was late 2004, and it came completely out of left field. I didn't have family history. We just felt a lump, and I do believe in going to the doctor. And so I went in, and lo and behold, a few weeks later, I was diagnosed with stage 2A breast cancer. So through that, I was a good patient. I went and I figured out the treatments with my doctors and medical team, what I was supposed to do. And lo and behold, besides surgery, which you obviously after surgery stay in the house quite a bit, I also had 16 weeks of chemotherapy. So I am somebody that does understand with a myriad of different experiences what we need to do when we stay at home and how we can be healthy through that.
Yeah. And you also, you know, as well as I do, that there is this mind, body, soul connection, that our mind helps heal us. It also helps us, you know, create illnesses, unfortunately. So it really matters what you put not only in your body, but also in your mind and what you eat. And it's all this big trifecta of how to get well.
I completely, you and I are very connected on that.
Yeah.
And I will honestly say it, my first diagnosis, I was a great patient. As I said, I listened to what the doctors said and I did it, and, you know, I made it through, and I'm very grateful for that. It wasn't until my second diagnosis, which was 9 years later, where I started to take this wellness approach, where it wasn't just about following the rules of what other people, smart people nonetheless, smart medical teams said, but also I wanted to be my own patient advocate. And in doing that, I started to explore who was thriving with various cancers and what were they doing. And that's where I came upon the trifecta that you speak about, the mind, body, soul connection, 360 degrees of wellness. And that incorporates a lot of things, not just eating clean or exercising or meditation. It's a lot of different modalities that can help us be well. And so that to me is really powerful and has been completely a part now of my second healing journey. And honestly, I feel like I'm thriving. So I
always say to you, like, you are like the healthiest looking person I know. So even the fact that you had cancer, like it's always shocking to me. You're also the most positive person I know. And I think that goes a long way in,
I believe that.
Healing, for sure. And you wrote a book called Happiness Through Hardship. Before we get into the food stuff, tell me about that.
So I tell people when we're talking about mind, body, soul connection, when something happens to you, any type of hardship, write it out. Journal it. Even if you are not a writer, just get your feelings out on paper, because if nothing else, it's cathartic and you may actually feel better. However, the beginning of this book was my journal from 15 years ago. Those few chapters really helped me connect. My goal with this book is to service cancer patients and their caregivers and friends, because when somebody you love is hit with cancer, it's not just the patient that's dealing with it. And so the first half of the book really is about those first few months and the first year after a diagnosis. It really could be any hardship, but clearly my story has been about cancer. And so I talk about and provide all sorts of resources. I share a few stories, but then I quickly jump into some suggestions that might help and resources. And then the second half of the book is, like I said, I believe in journals and note-taking pages in it. And so this is a great way, if you find out somebody that you know has been touched by cancer, you can send them a gift of a book that hopefully is thoughtful, knowing what they're going through, but also an opportunity for them to like get it out, get their thoughts out, and capture those.
Love that. And of course, you know that I lost my brother to cancer, so
Yeah.
I could have used that book at that time, but I had told other people about it when a loved one has a cancer diagnosis, so that because I know the information in it can be life-changing, really, because you don't want to feel like you're all alone either. You want to feel like you've got these teammates with you. Okay, so let's move into, so one of the things that you did in order to fulfill that mind, body, soul trifecta was making sure that you were fueling your body with healthy options and healthy food. So it can be challenging though when you are at home and you can't go out, you can't leave. I mean, people can bring you food, but they often don't know what to bring you or what to make. And so you have to be informed about what there is available to you. And so you are going to be my expert in all things food. So let's show our glorious kitchens again that we're in. And let's talk about what to do when you are hibernating at home, whether it's for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sometimes a month. I mean, I remember when I met my son, I was in the house. I did not leave my house for an entire month, and I wanted to shed the baby weight. So I had to be healthy at home.
So I will tell people, even before you start thinking about food, even before you change anything with food, is hydrate, and hydrate more than you're used to. The formula that's used about how much water you actually need is take your body weight in pounds and divide it by half. And that's how many ounces that you need to drink. However, if you are exercising at all, you may want to boost it up a little bit more. Hydrating.
Okay. Let me ask a question there.
Yes.
I have iced tea. It looks like water, but it's actually tea. Is that hydration or is that not hydration?
It depends on who you ask. If it's decaffeinated, it serves as hydration. Eating watermelon, like fruits that have a lot of water in it, really, it does count as hydration. I think though, as you're, mathematically trying to figure out how much to drink, I'm not sitting there saying like, oh, I just took 3 bites of watermelon, or if you're drinking decaffeinated tea, it's the caffeine in the tea that makes you dehydrated. So that is okay. I do believe that we should try and drink some plain water. And trust me, I wasn't always that way. I was a Diet Dr. Pepper obsessed fan. I loved the taste of it. And this is obviously before I changed my ways. And so it was really hard for me, sometimes still is, to drink a lot of water. So I will do some seltzer, and I will add some fruit to it. Maybe even some like juice shots. I will oftentimes juice ginger, or you can get it, in the store. I'll put a little bit of that in the seltzer water. However, I will tell you that drinking plain water really does help flush your system. If you have any bloating, it really helps with that a lot. My favorite tip that I tell people, one of the first things I did, and the simplest, is when you wake up in the morning, before you eat anything, before you drink anything other than plain water, is I will always do hot water or warm water and lemon. Our body's been sleeping, right? So if our body's been sleeping, we are a little dehydrated. And so the lemon actually helps detoxify your system when you put it in the warm water. And the warm water is obviously really soothing. Plus, you're starting your day out with a jolt of vitamin C. So it is something that I've been doing now for many years. There are times, if I don't have a lemon, that maybe I'll try and put a little apple cider vinegar in there. I will break it up a little times, maybe with some other citrus, but The properties in the lemon are incredibly healing. And so that is the way I start my day. And it's really simple for people to take that on when they want to take a small step towards healthy living.
Why not cold water though? Why hot water?
Uh, the way that the vitamin C is absorbed in the water, I was told, is better for you with the warm water. Cold water is great. And, I find it's easier for me to drink warm water quicker than it is cold water. So maybe it's a preference. You live down south, I live up north. You want the cold, I want the warm.
Well, let's switch.
Right? So I do like it, and I find it very soothing in the morning, as if, before, when I used to drink coffee, this is, something that soothes me differently.
Okay, let me add to that actually, because I have my little iced tea. It's very watered down, so that's why it looks clear. But I noticed I'm a huge water drinker. I've always been a water drinker. I noticed one thing, and that is when I have a full cup this size, it takes me a really long time to drink it. When I have a cup that's about like a shot, like those little 8-ounce glasses, and I leave it at my counter in the kitchen, every time I come into the kitchen, I down those 8 ounces. And by the end of the day, I've had at least 64 ounces rather than there's just like, I don't know if it's the mentality, but there's just something with when you have this big cup, it just seems more daunting. But if you could just do that 8-ounce shot of water, then you would definitely be more hydrated. Right. I'm dehydrated today. You said the word dehydrated and now I'm dehydrated.
Oh, I'm sorry. Keep drinking. Keep drinking. The other thing I've told people to do before, like a little healthy hack when it comes to drinking water, is take whatever, here I've got this water bottle, but if you have a clear one, a glass one, you could take a Sharpie and write like 9 a.m. By 9 a.m. I want to drink this much. By 10 a.m. this much. By 11 a.m. this much. And that way you're keeping yourself in check to try and make sure you're drinking throughout the day. Because that's the key too, is like, yes, I love to start out the morning with warm water and lemon, but if that's all the water that I have, my body isn't going to stay hydrated throughout the day. The key is to stay hydrated. Again, depending on what your goal is, but all of us want, healthy body, healthy organs. And so flushing the toxins with water throughout the day is great. If you're looking to lose weight, it's a great health tip to be drinking a lot of water. It really does help fill you. And oftentimes your mind might think like, oh, I want to go get something to eat. It's 3 o'clock and I'm hungry, but maybe you're just a little thirsty. So you hear a lot of weight loss specialists talking about drinking a lot of water to fulfill that.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard that if you are hungry, it's usually because you're bored or you're actually dehydrated. So start with water, see if that satiates you, and then go on from there. Okay, that's a really good tip. Okay, so let's talk about some other options for when you're hibernating at home in order to eat healthy.
I always tell people that adding to their life when they're trying to make a healthy change is so much easier than that mentality of like, no, I can't have this, I can't have this, I can't have that. And so what I tell people to add to their lives are fruit and vegetables. Think of at every meal, at every snack, how can you add more fruits and vegetables to your life? Now, to some people, that sounds really simple. But depending on your lifestyle or what you're doing, maybe you are staying at home, but you have a newborn baby. And so you're so busy, you really don't have time to be thinking about, all the different ways you'll have fruits and vegetables. And so some of my tips with that would be embrace smoothies. I love smoothies. Right here, smoothie in a mason jar. I will make these in bulk. That way I have several of them to last for a few days to a week. I will put a few in the refrigerator. I will put a few in the freezer. And then towards the end of the week, when maybe I don't have any in the refrigerator, I will take one out either the night before or that morning. And that way it defrosts over the course of several hours. Now, to some people, if you're looking for that 3 o'clock afternoon snack, you could take the smoothie. It might still be a little frozen and eat it. I joke around and call it smoothie ice cream.
So what happens if you don't have fresh fruit, though? If you don't have access to fresh fruit? Because as you know, not everybody does. Would you say that have your freezer stocked full of frozen fruit if you know that you can't go out?
Yes. And I will tell you, I actually use frozen fruit more than I do fresh fruit because I find it cost effective. I find obviously it's cost effective because it also lasts longer. And we know that if you're going to get, on the most part, but most organic fruits or vegetables that are frozen are picked when they are at peak, and then they are flash frozen, and so they've got the most nutrients in them. So I've heard people before say, oh, I want fresh fruit. That's great. If you want it, if you like the taste of it, terrific. However, I'm a huge fan of frozen fruits and vegetables. I have this smoothie. We call it our kid-approved green smoothie, because when we made it years ago, my son, who was like 5 years old then, actually loved it. And it's made with frozen cauliflower, frozen kale. I call it, my secret ingredient, though not so secret, is pumpkin pie spice. And all of these are, freezer/pantry items. I use oat milk because it tends to be a sweeter milk. I use medjool dates as a sweetener with so much, but especially in my smoothies. And so, all these items you can get, and they have longevity. And so I have always, plus when you make it with frozen fruits or vegetables, whatever your smoothie might be, it's like they're ice cubes. So you've got some extra ice in there to make it cold right away as well.
That's a great idea, though, to use the things you already have in your pantry, like the spices that you have in your pantry, to add to your smoothie, whether it's a cinnamon or
right. And they have
what else is there?
Great healing properties as well. So when you add spices, and again, when you're staying at home and you're not traveling out as much, it's kind of fun to try different concoctions when it comes to smoothies or any other type of cooking. Yeah. I will say there's a ton of delivery services, and that's a price point. If you're willing to spend a little extra money, there are all sorts of services that can deliver to you, whether it's the fresh produce that comes delivered to you, or there's some local CSAs that are like the community, call them farmers markets or farms, that can then some deliver or get from one pickup place. There are companies that have, like, this is a smoothie right here, and it is all the ingredients. All I need to do is dump it in.
Let me see that again. Show that smoothie again.
So, this is a tart cherry and raspberry prepackaged. If I open it up, you can see that you've got all the ingredients in there, from cherries to cauliflower, that make it super easy. All I do is I add water in the blender and it's done. So for the person that maybe isn't trying to conserve money, there's different price points depending on the company you use. But this one I've ended up loving, and at different times when I'm busy, that might be the route that I would go. Or you could, again, take all the ingredients yourself, put it in a mason jar, put it in a plastic bag, have it ready to go. So when you want to make your smoothie, it's all ready to go.
There's also companies obviously out there that can go pick up groceries for you in a time when you can't actually go out, like Instacart and Shipt and places like that, so that you don't have to feel like just because you can't go out, it can't be brought to you. Like, there's so many great delivery options out there, but you want to make sure that you have the right things.
Right.
Like, if you know that you're going to be in your home for, let's say, 30 days, what would you say to pick up at the store to make sure that you can cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and not, end up eating SpaghettiOs and eat Doritos all day?
All right. So again, it depends on your preferences, but when I'm looking at keeping healthy, think about eating the rainbow, right? So let's start with, if you're a meat eater or not a meat eater, you want to get some clean, non-hormonal chicken or fish. I'm not a fan of red meat. I myself am largely vegan, so I do not eat meat, but my family does. What we have done in the past is we've gotten clean organic meat and we've frozen it. That way you've got extra meat. We do organic eggs, so you can have a number of eggs that are sitting in your refrigerator and that they last at least a month's time. So I would go there for the protein. I'm also a huge beans fan. As somebody, I went vegan for 4 years, and I love beans because it brings you a multitude of different tastes and filling. And you can make so many things out of it. So if you're a chili eater, great, you love beans. If you like to dip your vegetables or your crackers in something, there's all sorts of bean, whether it's hummus or dips, that give you the extra fiber, that give you the extra vitamins, that gives you some extra filling and protein. So I'm a huge beans fan. I've
So
even
canned beans or like the type that you would get in like a packaging. Are you an advocate for cutting out cans or is that okay?
Yes, I'm an advocate for cutting out cans. If you need to use cans or packaging, use BPA-free packaging. You need a little more time to actually make the beans and boil the beans and let them sit overnight. And if you don't have that, then go with canned, go with package, whatever you need to do that works for your household. But try and make it so that it's BPA free, the packaging, and then obviously rinse the beans before you use them.
Oh my gosh, I don't do that. I need to do that, Caryn. I don't do that.
Because if there's some chemicals in,
but I do use BPA free, but I never thought of actually rinsing out when it comes in a can. I guess I should start doing that. Okay, thank you for that. It's an easy
step, right? And that can work. I would also say whole grains. There was a time that we all believed that carbs were bad. That is not the case. Carbs, especially wholesome, whole grain, ancient grain carbs like your quinoas. I will do chickpea pasta or whole grain pasta, barley, millet. There's a wide variety of pasta-like whole grains that if you are a pasta lover, you can make so many different meals, from quinoa salads to adding quinoa to soup to making it a big dinner. You can do red sauce with whole wheat pasta, with quinoa, with whatever it might be. And
I do lentil pasta. I like lentil pasta.
Lentil, right? Mm-hmm. There's just so much you can do with whole grains that make sure that you've got, not just stocked on your pasta, but your different whole grains that will help you out there. And don't forget healthy fats. Now, I love avocado.
Me too.
I use it as to add creaminess to my foods. I will use avocados to make dressings out of them. I'll blend a little avocado, add a little extra virgin olive oil, salt and pepper, and that makes a nice dressing. There's so many ways that you can use avocados, and they're such healthy.
I actually make chocolate chip cookies with avocados because avocado can replace the butter. I learned that from my brother, like literally before he died.
Yeah.
I was going to his house to help him, and he was vegetarian, and he was always teaching me different recipes. And one day he's like, you can make chocolate chip cookies with avocado? I'm like, no. So I tried it, and it was so good. It's right out of the oven and fresh. Okay. You could never tell that there was no butter in them. I'm gonna
try that. That's great.
You just replace the 2 sticks of butter that you would normally put in chocolate chip cookies with 2 avocados, ripe avocados. They have to be ripe. Now, otherwise, you get little green flecks in the cookies, and you don't want that.
Well, have you ever had the avocado chocolate mousse?
I haven't had that.
Oh, I love it. That's another example of when you can use avocado, keep it creamy, and you have to use it right.
Yeah.
Put it in a blender. You can add, whether it's chocolate powder or cacao powder, and add a sweetener, whether it's maple syrup or medjool dates, and you blend it on high, and it comes out, and you put it in the refrigerator, and it's thick. So it's.
Do you have a recipe anywhere for me to find?
I do. On PrettyWellness.com. I've got that chocolate, avocado chocolate mousse on there.
And do you have other recipes on PrettyWellness.com?
I do. Okay. I have a ton of recipes, and I will tell you, Laura, I never thought when I started Pretty Wellness that I was going to be somebody that came up with recipes. It really came out of necessity because I don't love to cook, but I obviously love to eat good food, and I want it quickly. And so everything that I put on there as a recipe is really simple, and it's also wholesome ingredients. In fact, if people sign up for our communication, our newsletter, I'm going to be launching an e-cookbook in a few weeks.
If you are at home for extended periods of time and you need to have the right appliances, what are some of the appliances beyond, obviously we've got our ovens and refrigerators, but some of those smaller like Instapot type things, what would you recommend people have if they're going to be home for a while?
So my very, 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 very favorite tool is just the blender. A high-speed blender is key. And I will tell you, I have been a fan of the Vitamix. I can speak to the Vitamix. I think it's great. there are so many things I make in the Vitamix. Obviously, we've talked about smoothies, but I make soups. I use it as a food processor. And so when we're talking about, taking chickpeas and rather than putting chickpeas and vegetables in a food processor, I just use the Vitamix because it's got the high-speed blade, and it has what they call a tamper, where you can kind of press down on it, and that will help keep it, processed. So
I did not know that with a Vitamix, this was interesting. I found this out recently, that you can make soup in the Vitamix.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I say, yeah, you can make soup in a Vitamix, then you have to heat it up. Oh, no, you can make the soup in the Vitamix, and it will heat it to a soup temperature. That was fascinating to me. So I love that Vitamix. I have it. I actually switched from Blendtec to Vitamix, and I love it. Yeah.
And I've heard that Blendtec, some people like it, but I've just always been a huge fan of it. I've had it for 6.5 years now. And when I've gone on vacation, obviously car vacation, not on a flight, I've brought it with me.
Yeah.
Because I can just do so much with it. And so it is worth, the next question I get is, they're pricey.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth it. I've been using it for 6 years, and I use it a lot. And I don't like tons of things on the countertop. And so now I have less on the countertop. So another tool that I've been using a lot is this here, is the hand blender, because there are sometimes, if you want to cook something in a big pot, yes, you could then transfer it to the Vitamix, but this hand blender is really easy. What I do a lot is I will there's a vegetable soup that my mother used to make when I was a kid. Now, I will tell you, I think she got the recipe from Weight Watchers back in the day, but we have changed it and added things to it. It's a ton of vegetables. We're talking squash and zucchini and tomato and carrots, and you could use water, or you could use broth, or, I added jalapeno the other day, and I throw it into either a big pot and let it boil. Or the next tool I'll tell you is, I do really like the Instant Pot. I will throw it.
I have one of those, the Instant Pot. I haven't been able to use it since I had broken my wrist.
Yeah.
And I can't pick it up. But when I started using it, I liked it. But one thing I just want to say before we move on to that, about that, the hand blender, it's an immersion blender. So if you have made a big pot of soup and it's chunky vegetables and you want to puree it, rather than transferring it, which I used to have to do, into the Blendtec or the Vitamix, you just stick the immersion blender in, and it purees it for you, and you get your whole soup and everything. So
I just took it off, but this part goes in. It's
super easy.
I think, and that one is cheap.
Yeah.
So that is, and the Instant Pot, I think, has probably gone down in price as well. But I think there's so many recipes that people talk about, they throw into the Instant Pot. My son, who's 11 years old, is throwing potatoes in to make his own mashed potatoes. We've thrown pastas in with different sauces or seasonings or oils to make a pasta dish. People do meat in there. People do eggs. There's just so much that you can do in it. So I think those tools will make your life so much easier if you can get them.
And I'm still a fan of the slow cooker. I still use even though I have an Instant Pot, I still use the slow cooker too. I love to make chili in my slow cooker and have it all day. I love pea soup that just sits all day long, and then by the time you get to it, it's just so delicious.
Now, on my Instant Pot, you actually can use that setting on it.
Yeah.
So I can slow cook on it. I don't need two different devices, but if you have an old one, right?
Yeah, I haven't given it up just yet. So, but like I said, I couldn't lift the Instant Pot for a while. So I probably could now. I'm almost healed, so I probably could now. Well, those are all great tips and information for how you can be healthy when you hibernate. And again, you never know when you have to stay in your home for a while. There's lots of different reasons that can happen. After I broke my wrist, I was in my house for a month. I didn't leave, and people had to bring me groceries, and making smoothies was really the only thing I could do, and making soups. And so I did all of those things. So those are all great tips. Thank you so much. Where can we find you again, and where can we get anybody who's interested in getting your book?
Oh, thank you. So I am on Instagram daily at Pretty Wellness. So if you want to connect, I love taking your questions, whether they are cancer related or just taking small steps towards healthy living. We are all about making healthy living attainable to everybody. Of course, there's prettywellness.com where I house most of my information as well. And the book, Happiness Through Hardship, you can find this where books are sold. So if you go to Amazon, go to barnesandnoble.com, and you can, send it to someone as a gift if you find out that someone you love is in need. So thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. I enjoyed our time in the kitchen. I kind of like the kitchen. I might switch my show to the kitchen. I don't know. I have to kick everybody out, but
right.
Plus, I can't do this in my other location in my house. I can only do it when I'm in the kitchen. So,
well, the hint is maybe you then get them to help you clean up. Say,
there
I've got a show, you guys got to help me clean up, right?
Yep. All right. Well, thank you, Caryn. Again, prettywellness.com. And it was great to see you. And I hope to see you in person soon, especially at the next wellness conference that we go to.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
again.
you. Okay.
Bye.
Take care.